everybody. Welcome to State of the Market. We are going live with Mark in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon to my friends across the pond. Welcome to the State of the Market show. It is Thursday, April 16th. Hope everybody had a wonderful tax day. Yesterday, markets closed at a new all-time high and at a new kind of milestone level, closing above 7,000. SPY is also dangerously close. I believe it actually did touch over 700 today. It did. High was 701, but has now started to roll over. And I'm not surprised that we're getting a little bit of rollover because we started to see some behavior change in the volatility index. Welcome to State of the Market. I am Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. In today's show, I'm going to overview the markets first. Then we're going to talk about Spirit Airlines becoming a ghost. We're going to talk about the giant infrastructure spend that is going to be needed for the Middle East. And then we're going to cover Taiwan semiconductor profits. Then I'm going to roll in our own Leisha J. Leslie, and we're going to run through some charts and talk about what's happening this afternoon. So with that in mind, let's take a look at markets themselves. As it stands right now, the S&P 500 is down 7 points. The Qs are down about a point. Dow ever so slightly down. But we're getting a nice move out of the volatility index. Now, I want to show you something. And this was your hint that, hey, maybe we are getting a little toppy here. So as you can see, we've had a massive burn higher, right? The market has just been borderline parabolic. And now we get to the top. And I want you to notice what started to happen. And we're just going to look at this red line here. So this red line represents option prices on SPX. Its low was not our high from Thursday or Wednesday, excuse me. Its low was actually Tuesday. On Wednesday, option prices actually started to tick up. And here we are again today, and option prices are ticking up again. And lo and behold, the S&P 500 starts to roll over. Now, do I think we're going to have a crazy, ridiculous sell-off? No, I do not. But could we give a little bit away here? Retest 7,000 in the S&P? 100% we could. There is, we hit this new high with some really aggressive euphoria. And when you start seeing the market going up and option prices going up at the same time, that is almost always a sign that at a minimum, we're going to take a breather. And at a maximum, we could be starting to roll over. And we saw the same thing in VIX futures. So here's the VIX futures. I want to just kind of show you what they looked like. All right, now the purple is the futures curve from today. The blue is the futures curve from the 14th, Tuesday. You notice anything? Yeah, options are actually up in the S&P 500. And that really just started the previous 2 days. The 14th represented a low. So, again, I don't know that we're heading for some sort of major market crisis right now. But I do think we're at a minimum in for a breather and could see a little bit of selling. All right, now let's talk about our first story for the day, which is Spirit Airlines. Now, we all know that oil is putting a squeeze on every single airline, right? Oil is putting the squeeze on the consumer, and it's putting the squeeze on the airlines because they have to buy jet fuel. There's a story out there that Europe might run out of jet fuel in 6 weeks, which would be very bad. So Spirit Airlines, which is just coming out of bankruptcy, sounds like they're going to roll right back into bankruptcy. There's an old saying. Do you guys know how to become worth $100 million? Does anybody here know how to attain wealth of $100 million? The answer is it's easy. Start with $1 billion and buy an airline. Yes, you start with $1 billion and you buy an airline. Airlines, outside of really Delta and UAL, are not particularly doing that great. There's rumors out there that United Airlines may try to merge with American. Now, I think regulatory-wise, that's going to be a real problem. But you could see UAL buy like a JetBlue. That would make a lot of sense. Pick up more routes in New York and in Florida and out on the West Coast. That's actually a more natural fit for UAL than American. American and UAL have so much overlap in major airports, between like LaGuardia and O'Hare. At any given time, UAL and American have 8 planes flying between Chicago and New York in the air. So, Spirit is a harbinger. What that tells me is, unless you think American is getting bought, you want to stay away from these cheap airlines. I'd be staying away from JetBlue, Frontier, and American. I mean, American is a huge airline, but financially, it's the weakest balance sheet of the bunch of the major airlines between Southwest, Delta, and United and American. In terms of like balance sheets, you're going Delta, Southwest, United, whoosh, American, shoosh, the discount airlines. So that's what you're looking at with that one. All right, now rolling on to our next major headline. We have the Iran war damage story. They are estimating that more than 80 facilities have been hit in the Gulf, and there has been north of $58 billion of damage. Now, what does that mean for you as a trader and as a consumer here? One, expect oil, as we've been saying, to not immediately when all the peace is signed, when all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, USO is not going to be 76 and WTI is not going to be $68. Brent will not be 75. You're going to see these stay up above where they were, because it's going to take a lot of investment to get the Middle East back up and running at full speed. It's going to take a lot of investment. So what does that mean? Gas? Probably not. Even in Texas, I don't know that we're going to see below $3 for a while. Prior to this conflict, unleaded regular here in Texas was down to what, like $2.40 a gallon. Inflation adjusted, it was cheaper than when I was in college. Now we're sitting up almost, even in Texas here, almost $4 a gallon. So, depending where you live, if you're in California, I wouldn't be betting on below $5. Illinois, same story. You live in Texas or one of the oil producing states, I would be not planning on below $3. So just to have that in your budgeting. As a trader, and this is something I'm going to circle back to with Leisha, it makes me think oil services. And when I think oil services, I think Halliburton. Halliburton has had a nice run. It's given some of it back away over the last couple of days as the peace deal. But now that we have come back down to this sub 40 level, when I think about the amount of money that Halliburton is going to make off repairing, restoring, and fixing the facilities in the Middle East, makes me think this might be an interesting long-term investment. The other one, Schlumberger, SLB, is another major oil services firm. So that is, those are two names that you should add to your radar right now, folks. All right. If you aren't watching, we get lost in Exxon and Chevron. And yes, they're going to make money. BP, Shell. We get lost in those major oil producers. Marathon, Conoco. The sneaky winner out of this whole conflict, maybe Halliburton and Schlumberger. Between that and the work needed in Venezuela, those two firms, I believe, are heading for a golden moment. A golden moment. All right, last major story, and this was the one I was really watching. Taiwan Semiconductor. This is the largest maker of chips. They are a fabricator. And they absolutely crushed their earnings. They crushed their earnings. And at every single level they did. They crushed them. And they also are down. Why? Well, they didn't guide high enough. They did not guide high enough. Now, do I like it as an investment long term? Yes and no. Their moat is starting to shrink. Look at Intel. Taiwan Semiconductor's loss is Intel's gain. Mark me now. Intel reports on the 23rd. The day before it reports, Intel is going to be over $70. Intel is now worth $325 billion. The move this has made over the last 6 months is one for the ages. And I know I told this story earlier, but I want to say about 12 to 18 months ago, I tried twice using call options to go long Intel. And I used longer dated options. So I think I started, I want to say in like January of 2025. And I tried buying March calls, and then I tried buying June calls. And neither of them worked. They both lost. So finally, and this was to my whole Delta Strike crew, I said, you know what? I know this is worth more. The sum of the parts are worth more than what this stock is trading at. Just buy the stock. And so I did, and a bunch of my Delta Strikers did. Surf Dancing Hogan, you bought some of the. I believe you bought some stock in Intel. Yeah, Ken did, and so I picked up several thousand shares for like $19. Only part I'm upset about is that I sold out at 47 at a little over $47. I missed out on 19, but I will say I rarely buy stocks. Rarely. The only time that I will buy a stock is when the sum of its parts are worth more than the stock, and it is in the absolute doldrums. And it's in the absolute doldrums. That is when I'll buy a stock. So TSM, it is a lot of people, again, we talked about this yesterday. It's bigger than Meta and bigger than Tesla. And what I'll say is that this one's moat might be shrinking between all these fabricators that are starting to come on. What have I always told you guys? What's the solution to high prices? Everybody should be chiming in with that solution right now. What's the solution to high prices? Right. High prices. Yes. The solution to high prices is high prices because it brings on competition. Brings on competition. And that competition brings supply. And there's your solution. Speaking of solutions, let's bring in the woman who has the answer to it all. She is our own Queen of the Candlesticks. I just call her Queen. She is Leisha J. Leslie, our chief technical analyst here at Option Pit, and one heck of a trader. Good morning, Leisha.
Good morning, Mark. The answers to it all. Wow.
Yes, you've got the answers to it all. So, let's circle back to markets because I do want to get your opinion on this. But because we all noticed this yesterday, right? We were talking about this in our trader chat, right? Hey, VIX futures are starting to go up. Option prices are in SPX are starting to get bid. We absolutely blew the doors off of the highs yesterday. And
yeah.
A lot of people want to know, like, what's next here? I think we're going to get a retest of 7,000 today, but with this new all-time high, this is where charting, where pitchforks and candlesticks can bring you so much insight. So, Leisha, why don't you walk us through what you see in the S&P 500 futures?
It's pretty amazing, this rally. Just look at that. All that green, all those bulls, all those buyers. We are at the top of the channel, though. And you can see the futures stopped right there, right at the channel.
Oh, wow.
So there's a little pause here because of that resistance. We are either going to consolidate here, a little sideways, a little pause to get the momentum to pop over that resistance there, today's high, and then trade into the next channel. And Mark, the median line is way up here at 7,300.
Oh my gosh.
So quite the rally. Now, our old highs were resistance. Yesterday, we blew through that. We may come back and test that. It's now support, 70.2350. Watch that level for support. We break down below there, we may come back down to the bottom of the channel here. So I'm thinking consolidating to get that next leg higher. Below 70.23 half, we have a little pullback. And that's on the futures.
Okay. Yeah, and folks, the futures trade at a premium to the cash index. So it just has to do with carrying costs, right? Because futures have much lower margin than the S&P 500, than owning all 500 stocks. And, there's no such thing as a free lunch here, folks. So traders are smart enough to price in that savings into the futures themselves. So that's why they trade at a premium. But yes. what Leash is telling you is, yeah, we could pull back below 7,000, which is only, $15 away right here. We could pull back below 7,000, take a little breather here for a couple days, and then we could start to move. Now, part of what is gonna one of the questions people keep asking me is, where do I see oil prices go? And I go, the answer is I don't really know until we get to a peacetime, but I don't believe WTI is going to be heading to 60 anytime soon. You're gonna, and I can't wait to get your opinion on the stocks that I was talking about. I don't know if you heard that story around the 58 billion, but even when energy comes lower, there are going to be some big winners. What do you see in CL, otherwise known as WTI, stands for West Texas International Crude. So
Intermediate, isn't it?
Yeah, West Texas Intermediate. Thank you. Otherwise known as light sweet crude.
Yes.
Thank you. Did I say internet? I meant intermediate. Sorry.
It has honored my pitchfork resistance up here twice now, getting a double top, a tweezer's top there, and bear flagging. And then now it's sitting at support. But yesterday gave us a nice little dragonfly doji, which could be a signal of a change in this mini downtrend. We do need to watch that 93.13 area right here. We break above that, this doji could pan out and we could rally back to 188. So watch that 93 level. We start to trade above there and we're going to maybe have a little bit more rally. Breaking down below that, yesterday's low will be support. It lines up with these lows. That's why it stopped there. And then the 50-day. So it's kind of trying to make a decision here if it's going to rally or not, or hold that resistance at 93.
Yeah, well, we'll see how long this blockade goes. I think when a deal is signed, you will see relief in oil. But again, it's not going to drop the way people think. And circling back to this $58 billion of damage, Schlumberger and Halliburton, between Venezuela and the work need to be done there, and now all this work that's going to need to be done in the Gulf, those two firms are going to make money hand over fist.
I really like Haley here. I really like Haley here, Mark.
You really like Hal.
You can see it follows this pitchfork wonderfully. Each time it trades to the bottom, it bounces and trades higher. We are literally sitting there at the bottom of the pitchfork. It could be a good opportunity to buy here once it trades above the 20-day. You could get a rally back up to these highs, lining up very well with the median line there right at 41. I do like Haley to 41. You do have earnings coming next week, but on Tuesday. But that could be the little pop it needs to trade over the 20-day. I really like Haley just because it has followed this beautifully each time it's bounced.
Yeah, that's one where I may go into the leaps, and try and kind of ignore that it has earnings come up and buy an in the money call. Like I can buy the 35 calls in January of 2027 for about $6.50. So yeah, it's got some premium in there, but $6.50, and I think this thing could be $50 by the end of the year, maybe 55. What is the very top of your pitchfork? The very top. I mean, we're
43 is a previous high from way back here. Trading to the top of the pitchfork would take us around, say in mid-May would be 46. You go further out, it's marching higher, 48.
Yeah. So I see this one potentially going to 50. So that's a fun one. Now, the other one I wanted to look at was Schlumberger, SLB.
Let's see the weekly on this one, what that looks like.
Okay.
I'm
down for that.
Blob is Slab's up against a little resistance here, just those previous highs in Feb, the end of Feb. Above here, though, you'll see 54 and then 56 almost. But yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I like SLB, but I think Hal's the better play. That's my.
I think. Yeah, Hallie has more room just because of where it's positioned right now. Slab is already rallied. Doesn't mean it can't go higher though. But
No.
I think Hallie has more potential and more upside. But this could be
You know
good
what?
too once it pops over.
Alicia, you know what has real upside?
Wow.
Joining you and me today at 2 p.m.
That's correct.
Folks, we had a great session yesterday. There were 500 people with Leisha and I as we walk through the power of 1 and 0 DTE options. We showed how the whole landscape has changed, talked about how it's going to change in the future. Today, we have even more for you guys. More on charting, more on where the future is heading for 0 DTE and how you can take advantage of it. Plus, if you register, all right, we have our Project M&S class, our Project M&S session. We have that today at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you register and join, we are going to simulcast Project M&S into the event room as well. So you are going to have the opportunity today and tomorrow to pick up a trade idea at zero cost on top of the absolute top-notch education that Leisha and I are giving you guys, dropping on you guys.
Yes.
Fish says, that was an awesome class yesterday. Northport, Florida man has just said he put out he did a vertical on SLB and made 30% in and out roll. Nice.
Way to go, Northport.
Yes. Scavenger said we dropped knowledge bombs. MS wants to know, is there a replay from yesterday? Yes, there is, but you have to register for the event, and we will send you the access to the replay. So I'd like everybody here watching at if you're watching me on X, the link to join us is in my profile. If you're watching us on YouTube, the link to join us is in our profile. So get yourself registered. And if you can't figure out how to get yourself registered, you can email my team, support@optionpit.com, or you can call us 888-872-3301. That's 888-872-3301. And we will join, and we will gladly help you through the process. If you're in the room here, the link is actually pinned to the top right there. If you look up, you can see it. All right. So make sure to join us this afternoon at 2 p.m. It is going to be a blast. All right, everybody. It is now 10:30. I will be back tomorrow with you guys. I look forward to it. Leisha, thank you so much for your time. So
Thank you.
For Leisha J. Leslie, the Queen of the Candles, we just call her Queen. I am Mark Sebastian. I am your only option. Thank you for joining me in the State of the Market show. And thank you, Amin. Have a great trading day.
We'll see you at 2:00.